What if your country split overnight? One line suddenly divided every family. Brothers became strangers across guarded borders. Homes remained, but nations changed forever. Nobody moved, yet everything felt different. One people became two opposing countries. They shared language, history, and blood. Yet politics transformed neighbors into enemies. Soon, the border exploded into war. Cities burned beneath endless artillery fire. Families fled, carrying whatever they could. Children disappeared within crowded refugee columns. Parents searched through smoke and ruins. Millions faced unimaginable suffering and loss. But the deepest wound remained separation. Korea had once stood united together. Mountains connected villages across the peninsula. Ancient kingdoms shaped shared cultural traditions. Families traveled freely between northern regions. Southern farmers traded goods with neighbors. Nobody imagined permanent division was coming. Then foreign powers changed Korea's future. Japan occupied Korea during 1910. Korean independence disappeared beneath colonial rule. Japanese authorities controlled language and culture. Many Koreans resisted despite terrible consequences. Families secretly protected their national identity. Hope survived inside quiet, hidden conversations. Decades passed beneath strict foreign control. Then another global war changed everything. World War II finally approached ending. Japan surrendered during 1945. Korea expected freedom after decades suffering. Crowds celebrated liberation throughout Korean cities. People believed their nation would reunite, but freedom arrived carrying dangerous shadows. Two powerful nations entered Korean territory. America arrived from the southern direction. The Soviet Union entered northern regions. Both claimed temporary responsibility for Korea. Neither expected division becoming permanent later. Military officials opened maps during negotiations. They searched for a simple dividing line. The 38th parallel seemed convenient then. One pencil stroke changed countless lives. Northern Korea entered Soviet influence afterward. Southern Korea entered American influence afterward. The border was supposedly temporary only. Families expected reunification within several years. Nobody prepared for permanent painful separation. New governments slowly formed on both. Different ideologies shaped their competing futures. Northern leaders supported communist revolutionary policies. Southern leaders supported anti-communist democratic policies. Both governments claimed authority over Korea. Neither accepted the other's legitimacy fully. Political tension spread across divided communities. Soldiers gathered along the new border. Tanks appeared near peaceful farming villages. Families watched military movements with fear. Everyone sensed something terrible was approaching. Then darkness covered the peninsula quietly. Soldiers waited beneath cold morning skies. Artillery weapons faced the southern border. Soon, Korea would awaken to war. June 25, 1950 arrived silently. Dawn covered Korea beneath heavy clouds. Most families were still sleeping peacefully. Then artillery shattered the morning silence. Explosions echoed across the entire border. North Korean tanks crossed southward rapidly. Thousands of soldiers followed behind them. The invasion began without any warning. Southern defenses collapsed under overwhelming pressure. Villages awakened, surrounded by smoke everywhere. Families ran without understanding anything clearly. Parents grabbed children and abandoned homes. Some carried food, others carried memories. Many carried nothing except desperate hope. Roads filled with frightened, fleeing civilians. Old people struggled beside crying children. Soldiers shouted directions through burning streets. Nobody knew which road remained safe. Seoul faced danger sooner than expected. North Korean forces advanced with speed. Southern troops fought while retreating southward. Bridges exploded behind desperate military columns. Smoke covered Seoul's frightened, crowded streets. The capital finally fell within days. Families became separated during chaotic evacuations. A father held his son's hand. They ran through smoke toward safety. Suddenly, an explosion struck nearby buildings. Dust swallowed the road without warning. The father's grip suddenly became empty. His son vanished inside screaming crowds. He searched while soldiers pushed forward. Every face looked unfamiliar through dust. Every cry sounded painfully like his. But the crowd carried him southward. He faced an impossible choice then: search for his missing son alone, or protect his remaining family members. He kept moving, carrying unbearable guilt. Behind him, Seoul continued burning fiercely. The invasion shocked leaders worldwide immediately. America feared communism spreading across Asia. the United Nations demanded urgent action. International forces prepared to defend Korea. American soldiers arrived with powerful weapons. Troops from many nations followed quickly. Yet North Korean forces kept advancing. Southern territory disappeared beneath enemy control. Defenders retreated toward the southeastern coast. Busan became their final defensive position. The remaining territory seemed dangerously small. Soldiers dug trenches beneath summer rain. Civilians crowded behind desperate defensive lines. Everyone feared complete defeat was near. Commanders searched desperately for unexpected solutions. General MacArthur planned a risky attack. His target was distant Incheon Harbor. The landing seemed almost completely impossible. Dangerous tides threatened every approaching ship. Enemy forces expected attacks elsewhere instead. Surprise became MacArthur's strongest weapon. Soldiers prepared quietly aboard naval vessels. Night covered the waiting invasion fleet. Everyone knew failure meant disaster there. Then the ships moved toward Incheon. Warships approached Incheon beneath dark clouds. Powerful waves struck the landing vessels. Soldiers waited silently beside loaded weapons. Everyone understood the mission's dangerous risks. Incheon possessed extreme tides and seawalls. Many commanders feared complete military disaster. MacArthur refused abandoning his bold strategy. Surprise could change the entire war. Then naval guns shattered coastal defenses. Explosions illuminated the harbor before sunrise. Soldiers climbed ladders over massive seawalls. They entered Incheon amid smoke everywhere. Enemy defenders reacted too slowly initially. The unexpected landing achieved crucial success. North Korean supply lines collapsed suddenly. Southern forces escaped their desperate position. United Nations troops advanced rapidly northward. Seoul became the next important target. Street battles destroyed neighborhoods throughout Seoul. Civilians hid beneath damaged buildings silently. After fierce fighting, Seoul returned southward. Crowds celebrated while mourning lost relatives. But victory created dangerous new confidence. Allied leaders crossed the 38th parallel. Their armies continued pushing into northern Korea. Many believed victory was finally certain. Soldiers marched toward distant northern mountains. The border with China grew closer. Chinese leaders watched these movements anxiously. They feared American forces approaching directly. China decided intervention became necessary immediately. Thousands of Chinese soldiers crossed secretly. They traveled through dark mountain passes. Snow covered their footsteps before sunrise. They carried rifles, food, and blankets. Many marched without proper winter equipment. Their numbers remained hidden from enemies. Then distant bugles broke the darkness. Chinese forces attacked from surrounding mountains. Allied soldiers faced overwhelming surprise attacks. Gunfire echoed across frozen mountain valleys. Confusion spread through every military position. Units lost contact during violent nighttime battles. Retreat became the only possible choice. Soldiers marched south through freezing temperatures. Vehicles became trapped beneath heavy snow. Weapons froze inside soldiers' exhausted hands. Frostbite injured men before enemy fire. Some soldiers never survived the cold. Others carried wounded friends across ice. Every step demanded painful determination afterward. The war changed direction once again. Chinese forces pushed southern armies backward. Seoul faced another terrifying invasion soon. Civilians fled their damaged city again. Families crossed frozen rivers seeking safety. Some children became lost within blizzards. Parents searched through snow and darkness. Every distant voice brought painful hope. Then silence returned across empty roads. Seoul fell beneath northern control again. The city changed hands repeatedly afterward. Victory seemed impossible for either side. Korea became trapped inside endless violence. Still, the suffering had only begun. The war slowly became a brutal stalemate. Neither side could achieve decisive victory. Front lines moved across ruined mountain landscapes. Soldiers fought for hills without names. One hill changed hands repeatedly overnight. Thousands died defending meaningless pieces. Artillery fire shattered the mountains constantly. Trenches filled with mud and fear. Soldiers waited beneath endless falling rain. Every distant sound suggested approaching death. Some wrote letters during quiet nights. Others stared silently toward distant homes. Many wondered whether families survived elsewhere. Yet civilians suffered beyond every battlefield. Entire villages disappeared beneath heavy bombing. Homes became ashes within several minutes. Families fled carrying frightened children southward. Roads filled with exhausted, desperate refugees. Hunger followed them through ruined towns. Winter brought freezing winds and snow. Mothers shared their final food quietly. Fathers searched abandoned houses for supplies. Children cried beneath torn wool blankets. Nobody knew when safety would return. One mother carried 2 children. Explosions suddenly struck the crowded road. Panicked civilians rushed toward nearby fields. Her youngest child slipped away suddenly. She turned and searched through smoke. Her older child clung tightly nearby. Soldiers shouted, ordering everyone forward immediately. Another explosion shook the ground violently. She faced an unbearable choice then: return alone and search for him, or save the child beside her. Her heart refused accepting either answer. But danger forced her moving forward. She screamed his name through darkness. The crowd carried her farther away. His small voice disappeared beneath explosions. That question haunted her forever afterward. Could she have saved both children? Nobody could ever answer her pain. Across Korea, countless families faced similar choices. War turned ordinary decisions into nightmares. Meanwhile, leaders discussed peace through negotiations. Talks began during 1951, but arguments delayed every possible agreement. Both sides demanded different border locations. Prisoners became another bitter political dispute. Fighting continued while diplomats exchanged words. Soldiers died during ongoing peace negotiations. The war became cruelly difficult understanding. Everyone wanted peace, but mistrusted everyone. Months passed without any final agreement. More mountains became graves for soldiers. More villages became empty fields afterward. Then leaders finally accepted painful compromise. The battlefield returned near its beginning. Neither side gained complete victory there. 3 years had changed everything forever. Millions carried scars beyond visible wounds. Families remained separated across guarded borders. Still, the guns had not stopped. Finally, an armistice approached the peninsula. July 27, 1953, finally arrived. Negotiators gathered inside tense military buildings. Years of violence had exhausted everyone. The battlefield offered no clear winner. Both sides accepted a painful compromise. An armistice ended most active fighting. Soldiers slowly lowered their weapons afterward. Artillery fire finally disappeared across Korea. Silence returned to devastated mountain valleys. But silence was not lasting peace. No permanent peace treaty was signed. The war officially remained unfinished afterward. Korea existed between war and peace. A demilitarized zone divided the peninsula. Barbed wire crossed mountains and fields. Guard towers watched every silent movement. Soldiers stood facing opposing soldiers daily. Mines waited beneath quiet stretches underground. Families remained separated across the border. Many never learned relatives' final fates. Some waited beside old family photographs. Others remembered voices fading through decades. Children grew into adults without answers. Parents became elderly while still waiting. Years passed, but hope remained alive. North Korea followed its separate path. South Korea built another future entirely. Their cities changed in different ways. Their governments taught different national histories. Their children learned different stories afterward. Yet both shared ancient Korean roots. Their ancestors once crossed these mountains. Their grandparents spoke beside shared fires. Their families once celebrated together peacefully. Then one border changed everything forever. Sometimes divided families received rare reunions. Elderly relatives traveled toward guarded meeting halls. They searched unfamiliar faces for memories. Then brothers recognized each other suddenly. Tears replaced decades of painful silence. They held hands and remembered childhood. They asked about parents and hometowns. Some discovered loved ones had died. Others learned relatives still remembered them. But reunions lasted only several hours. Officials eventually ordered families apart again. They released hands while crying desperately. Buses carried them toward opposite borders. Nobody knew whether meetings would return. Some never received another opportunity afterward. This became war's cruelest lasting wound. It did not only destroy cities, it also stole irreplaceable human time. It stole birthdays, reunions, and farewells. It turned memories into guarded borders. Many people ask who truly won. The answer remains painfully difficult today. Neither Korea received complete reunification afterward. Neither side escaped suffering or loss. The battlefield simply became another border. Perhaps the war never truly ended. Perhaps guns merely paused their violence. Peace remained a promise without completion. One nation still waits beyond fences. Two Koreas remember one divided homeland.